Hello, everyone. This is Morgan L. Smith here, and welcome to another segment for my upcoming book, which is called Bodhi in the Brain. So that's Bodhi in the Brain. That's coming out very soon. I just want to say today is a very special day because today is my birthday. That's right, January 29th. This is my birthday today, and I'm getting older. And because I'm getting older, there's something here I want to talk about that's very important, which is neuroplasticity. For those who don't know what that is, that's your brain is capable of changing. It can change its structure. Scientists or neuroscientists thought at one point that that your brain was fixed after a certain age, but it turns out with new discoveries that the brain is capable of changing, and so that is called neuroplasticity, which involves the new creation of synapses, dendrites, and neurons. So what am I mentioning here? So new neurons, synapses, and dendrites. I'm sure everybody knows what neurons are. But before I even get into neurons, I'm just saying that neuroplasticity is very important because as you age, as you know, after you reach a certain age, past a certain age, it seems like the brain starts to slow down in certain ways. But with meditation, which we know, especially through brainwave entrainment, which I do through Yinnergy, the brain can continue to evolve and become more complex even as you age. So this is really, really good news. So this is something that people need to keep this in mind, especially when you reach past a certain age. As I said, today's my birthday. So today I just turned 51 years old, right? And I'm still at it. Trying to keep the brain healthy, the nervous system and everything like that. And one thing that's really, really important is memory. And memory is important because my grandmother on my dad's side, before she passed away a few years ago, she had dementia. So these are things to keep in mind as you age, and there are ways to keep the brain healthy for as long as possible. So these are things to keep in mind. But in regards to plasticity, all right, in regards to that, I was just mentioning earlier about neurons, and everybody knows what neurons are. The neurons are the basic units of the nervous system, which you call the brain cell, right? So, and they're responsible for transmitting information throughout the entire body, and that's why neurons are very, very important. And I mentioned here dendrites, and dendrites are the extension of neurons. It's kind of like a tree with branches. So they're the extension of neurons, and they help to develop new connections as you learn new skills and form new memories. And then you have synapses, which are the tiny spaces in between neurons, as I mentioned, the brain cells. And they're responsible for passing signals from one neuron to another. They are the bridge between two neurons. And the goal with the synapses is to strengthen the relationship between two neurons. Stronger synapses increases concentration, which is used in many forms of meditation. So when you practice a certain meditation technique, they teach you how to focus and how to concentrate, and things of that nature. But for those who've done Yinnergy, if you do it for a long period of time, you realize that these connections get stronger. And what's also really, really important with the dendrites, the neurons, dendrites, and the synapses, is if you end up having a spiritual awakening with something that profound, right there, you're creating new connections between the cells, between the neurons creating new dendrites and creating new synapses, so that you can end up having another one, and another one, and another one. And they don't necessarily all have to be spiritual awakenings, but it could be peak experiences, like peak spiritual experiences, which can also occur, which would occur more often than a spiritual awakening, because again, a spiritual awakening is very difficult to reach. But if you end up having one, you can end up having another, because you've now strengthened the connections between the neurons and creating new dendrites and creating new synapses. So all these things are important. So even though it's a spiritual experience, which is one perspective, the other perspective is that it is neurological, biological, that neurological and biological things are happening within the body that causes that. But you can also look at it from the other way too, that everything is Brahman, and Brahman is creating everything in existence. Of course, Brahman is the manifestation of the body that is having the experience. So there are many ways to look at that, and they're all correct. They're just from different standpoints. It depends on what you're tackling. So from this world that we call Maya, which I may have said in the last segment, which means illusion, the illusion is experiencing itself. So the illusion is the brain, the body, and everything that surrounds the body. And this illusion is letting go of itself to have the ultimate experience of what's actually reality. So to create this illusion, to make this illusion strong as it is, you have a brain, you have a nervous system, you have neurons, you have dendrites, you have synapses, and all these things. It seems like all these things are causing the spiritual experience. When in reality, what's happening is Brahman is having the experience as a human being, having the experience of a spiritual awakening. So there are so many different ways of looking at this, and as I said, they're all correct. But while we're in this illusion called Maya, as it looks like that I'm standing here and recording this information so that I can spread the information to you, all that is part of the illusion, so that, Brahman has a story to tell. Well, not to tell, because there's no one to tell it to, because all that exists is Brahman. So that's a quick Hindu perspective on what God is and all that. So the brain, the nervous system, the neurons, the synapses, the dendrites are all part of the illusion. As part of the illusion, the manifestation that Brahman or God is choosing to have. And here we are, as I sit here talking to you about the brain. From Brahman's standpoint, the brain doesn't even exist. It's just an experience or an imagination that Brahman or God is choosing to have. So this gets really complex, and I know some of you are very intrigued by stuff like this, and others be like, oh my gosh, I'm turned off by this, especially if you have a different belief background, religious background, and so forth. But all that stuff is important, including your religious background and all that, because all of that is also part of the manifestation of God or Brahman and all that. So that's my little spiel on the brain, neuroplasticity. And there's so much more. So again, this book is coming out. It's coming out very soon, actually. It's coming out very soon. I just approved the final edits and all that. So we're putting everything together just right now. And there'll be a few more segments, of course. But that's it for today for Bodhi in the brain. And for those who don't know what Bodhi means enlightenment. It's another word for enlightenment, for spiritual enlightenment. And of course, that subject alone is a very complex one. But again, Bodhi, Bodhi, is another word for spiritual enlightenment. So that's it for this week, guys. So we'll talk next time. And happy birthday to me. Take care.